Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another edition of Raw Light. This is Tuesday, February 20th, 2018. And tonight's show is called Beyond Change. So, there's a lot of different things that have been coming up to this. In writing my book, I've been coming up with different things of, how, because of the shooting in Florida is one of them. It's probably one of the biggest ones because it seems to be on everybody's mind. And what can we do to change? So then you have to ask yourself, how can we go beyond that change? Now, change comes in two different forms. It comes in two different definitions. At least to me, it does. Beyond change is when you think of yourself like, okay, you know what? There's some things in my life that I'm just not going to change, and that's the way I feel. And I'll examine them at a later point. But for right now, I'm good with it, and I'll explain that later. The second definition is beyond change is, let's use the school shooting as uh, a reference. And how many times has this happened over and over and over again where we're constantly talking about gun laws and this and that and mental health, and there's just so much bullshit, right? So for me, I'm thinking about how can we get beyond the change, because we want to make the change, but we keep talking about stuff and nothing ever gets done. I think we need to take things into our own hands because our government, honestly, doesn't care. They just don't give a shit. They don't get it right. And what came to me most on that front was that it takes a village. It's an old African proverb that speaks about you don't have to take responsibility for the child, but you do have some say in helping to nurture and guide that child and take care of it. And that's pretty important, I think. And that's what we've gotten away from here in this country, I believe. That's just my opinion. You can let me know what you think in the remarks down below. But, a lot of this stuff all has to do with how we really view um, ourselves as a society and what seems to be the problem, in that. And I'm not going to talk about that any further because everybody has their own opinions. This is not a political show. I'm not going to get into discussion and arguments over this stuff. Um, we have a constitution for a reason. But obviously, it's not about what's in the constitution and what you can do as far as guns are concerned. It's about our society, I feel. So, how can we change it? You know, who's going to take responsibility? We keep looking for our, you know, politicians to do it. And you know what? If they can't make money off of it, they really don't care. I feel. That's just my opinion. So, something else that I posted today was about train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose. And when you go beyond yourself, and beyond the change, you discover that you have to let go of fear. And that's a hard thing to do because there's so many different levels of fear and the things that we have problems with and on a daily basis. So you have to kind of tackle them one by one. I've always said that it's like peeling away the layers of an onion, and that's what the emotion code does, um, that I've talked about before. And it's an ongoing process, um, because there's different stages in life. I think Dr. Wayne Dyer described them as the seasons of life. And he put certain ages to them, like there's the spring of life and the summer of life and the fall of life, and of course, the winter of life. The winter of life is, he was going by ages, but boy, ages, that's just a number anymore. It really doesn't matter. So that can be when you're just, in all honesty, done with, and near death. I think it's a shorter window because winter does describe and represent death, uh, in hibernation. So, but anyway, when you train yourself to let go of something, that you of everything that you fear to lose. What I did, I posted on that and I said that I let go of life, love, relationships, and dreams. Therefore, I cannot fear. Because we constantly want something in our life that's going to make us feel whole and happy and everything else. And once I realized, I posted this too, is once realize that you can fly from the inside. In other words, you discover who you truly are as a spiritual person, that you are a spiritual being in a human existence and experience, that you don't have the same type of outlook and perspective that most people do that haven't even began to question who they truly are. And most of the people that are having problems are the people who have lost themselves. They lost in who they are. And what I mean by that is, and this is again, it goes back to the stages in life. When you're a teenager, you're told, okay, so you're going to go to college, or you're going to go out and go to a vo-tech school, or you're going to go to work, or whatever. And then that starts to define who you are. Okay. So then you're told that you should buy a house, and or fall in love, get engaged, buy a house, have children, and everything's put in order for you. You know what I mean? And so, what do you want to do at that point? Are you still being you? Are you sacrificing things of who you truly are as your creative self in order to keep that in line with what you told you're supposed to be? And there's nothing wrong, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being a parent, for example. But I've seen that happen as well with some of my clients, where when the kids, they get the empty nest syndrome, or they see it coming and the kids are gone, and then they're asking themselves, well, why am I with this person, or who am I, and what am I doing? This is where midlife crisis comes in. I think this is part of menopause for women as well, because they start to questioning, themselves as far as their usefulness and beauty and attracting, their partner, and so on and so forth. And it's a difficult situation to go through, and we all have to go through it at one point or another. But that produces a fear. So once again, it's something that you have to let go of. And like I said, I've let go of, my life and what I perceive as love, because that keeps changing, and relationships, that's, romantic and family and friends and everything else. And for my dreams, and I'll explain the whole dreams part in a minute. But when you let go of those things, you finally come to the realization that as long as I'm happy with the journey, and I'm happy with myself, and I love myself, then everything else is just icing on the cake. Because why should I put forth so much effort to live up to everyone else's expectations? And it's the same way with you. Now, this is through work, and it's through family and everything else. And it's sort of like, and I mentioned this just the other night, that this whole thing, I'm going right back to the school shooting thing. People like that young man had some difficult problems in his life that caused him to reach that point. And it's because he has lost all complete knowing of who he was, because he was being told and what he was supposed to be. And alongside of that, he was also not cared for, in the way that I mean that he wasn't nurtured. He didn't have, hi everybody, he didn't have, I believe, the structure and loving, unconditional love support from everyone around him. Now, that's not necessarily their fault, because they didn't have it either. And that's where it comes into, it's just a repeating cycle over and over again. But what happened with this young man, and everyone else has done the school shootings and even terrorist attacks and everything else, is because they're not wicked, ugly, mean people. they are distraught people. They are people who don't have the support of other people because they're being bullied, or they're just, you know what I mean? They're not supported. They're told that they're ugly. They're told that they're different. They're told that they're supposed to be this type of student. They're told that they're supposed to learn in this specific way. They're told that they're supposed to live life in this particular way. They're told that whatever they see as creativity is not what is productive for them, or rather for the people that they're putting the expectations on him or her. And I had to struggle a lot for my life, but I kept on looking for it, thinking that it was the right thing to do, in all honesty. And that's one of the reasons I joined the military, thinking that I needed that structure when I was 23 years old, when I joined the army, or I was 22, I forget which. But it was just one of those deals where, okay, so this is what I think I'm missing, and this is what I need to do. And it just got worse. Everybody was telling me what I was supposed to be. Now, I was an extremely good soldier. I got plenty of awards. I was a sharpshooter. I got, you know, top place and 100% in PT test and different things like this. I mean, I put my whole heart and soul into it, but I was not satisfied. When it came to war, I knew it was wrong, and it tore me up. It ate me up alive. You know what I mean? And it's just one of those things that some people use the fight and flight ego thing, but there was still that right side of my brain that was that feminine side that just said, this isn't right. I don't need to do this, and so on. So I was torturing myself in that because I was finding myself. That was part of it. And sometimes I have to wonder, what is in our soul contract? What are these instances of fate that we go through? Like this young man, he had a choice. Where there's points of synchronicity in which there is fate that comes into our lives, and we're told, or we're given a choice rather, to go one direction or another. And they're all part of our life lessons. I think that all that happens for a reason. So then I have to ask myself, when that happens, is it truly pre-planned? And do we really have the ability to affect the outcome? In other words, there's no wrong choice in what we do. However, it can prolong the lesson. And man, I'll tell you what, I look back at my past and it's like, I was constantly asking for help or guidance or whatever, and, didn't find it until, after 2007. And it was a rough road. And a lot of you guys are going through the same thing. So then you have to ask, like I said, again, how much of this is pre-planned? How much can I really make a choice? Like, the law of attraction, sometimes I have to ask myself, is it real? I think the law of attraction, it discusses the universal laws, which are very true. They talk about what you put out, you get back, which is negative or positive energy. I completely agree with that. But you have to wonder sometimes, whenever you're going through something, does it really make the difference on what you desire? Because, will it come or will it not in a certain amount of time, because you still have, it's pre-planned, and you still have other instances of fate that you have to go through in order to learn that lesson. I guess that's the best way to say it. And so then we sometimes lose hope, and we try to figure out what the hell's going on, and there's all these lessons to learn and everything else. But that's why it's so important to just enjoy the journey, and know that we're all in the same boat. Basically, we're all here going through the same thing. But as far as, vision boards and thinking positive and thinking, okay, this is going to happen because, we have this mentality now in our society. It's all about us, and that all about us mentality has given way to ignoring other people and not accepting them and loving them unconditionally, which brings me right back to that young man in Florida. So what's right and what's wrong? What is it right to look for that instant gratification when we use something like the universal laws of the universe through a law of attraction, saying that I want to be rich, or I want to be famous, or I want this certain person in my life, or something else like that? Is it real? It's honestly, I mean, you have to be honest with yourself in these questions, because it doesn't make any sense to me. There has to be something in order inside of you that wants to give and serve and love without anything in return. And that is something that I think a lot of us in our society are struggling with, because we all want to feel that love. We all want to be loved. We all want to be a part of something. If we didn't, then you wouldn't have all these different organizations just within our country alone, like Lives Matter. You wouldn't have, um, I don't know, because I'm not a part of any groups. You know what I mean? So can't think of any off the top of my head. But you know what I'm saying. There's so many different organizations out there, even sports. Okay, if you live close to a large city, like I am here in Pittsburgh, you know, or even in Philadelphia. I have friends that live over there, and they are all sporting something that says Philadelphia, whether they're diehard fans or just, you know, fans. No, they don't live their life, by, every day by if they win or lose a game. But it's not just football; it's every other sport. You know, there's a certain camaraderie when you're a part of a fan base, or like I said, Black Lives Matter, or this group or that group or whatever. The only reason that you're there with those people is because you're looking for acceptance. It goes the same way into street gangs. Um, it goes into clubs. It goes into AA. I was in AA for a period of time. Same thing. You want to gather together because you all think you have something in common. You're looking for guidance and acceptance and who you are. And in the example of a 1% motorcycle club, uh, you know, you got to pay your dues, and you got to go through some humiliation in order to do that. And there's other clubs, look at some of the, what do they call those at colleges? The
Fraternities and
sororities
sororities.
that they have. Same thing. There's certain things that they have to do to pledge, uh, to become a part of that group. And so when you start thinking about, you know, who you're affiliated with, and then it divides you from another group, just like race. As far as I'm concerned, there's only one race. That's the human race. It doesn't matter what color your skin is, or what language you speak, or what religion you think in. But people don't think that way. And whenever you're in that frame of mind, you lose your personal power, and you lose who you really are as a person. You don't know who the hell you are, because you're attaching yourself to whoever you're attached to, if that makes any sense. So, again, you have to be careful on how you perceive other groups and labels and situations, and whether it is right for you or wrong for you. If you don't question it from time to time, then you have to ask yourself, is it am I just going along with the group? Am I just, you know, swimming along with the other fishes? Or am I fishing against the current, so to speak? So that leads me to the next part that I was thinking about was your love of self. You know, here's the thing. If you're going to be connected with those groups, then you're connected with the labels. And when you're doing that, you're living up to somebody else's expectations. And one way or another, I don't care what any of you say, you're giving something up. You're sacrificing something in order to live up to someone else's expectations. It can be in a relationship, it can be in a friendship, it can be at work, it can be in a sports group, as a fan. It can be in so many different ways. It can be because of the type of car you drive. There's groups of men and women out there that drive muscle cars and collect them and everything else. And they want nothing to do with people who drive foreign automobiles. And it can be anything from a GTR Nissan to a Jaguar, but they don't want anything to do with them, no matter how nice the car is, which is stupid, you know. And it's like people who ride Harleys. There's a hog, okay, Harley owner group. There's some of those guys and women that if you got a Jap bike, what I mean is like a Honda, Kawasaki, or whatever, or if you have what they call rice burners, and those are also, like, most of those are all Japanese manufacturers, then they don't want anything to do with you because you're not riding a Harley. To them, you're not cool. To me, hey, if you're riding, you're gliding. It's all cool with me, man. It's fun. You just get out, in the wind and you're having fun. Should be the same way with cars. Should be the same way with sports teams. But how many times do you hear about different uh, sports teams that that they have this grudge or something going, like this town against that town or whatever. I listen to that stuff on the radio and it just drives me nuts. And then I turn the radio off. But yeah, to sit there and you know, like the rivalry between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens. What the hell do I care? They're two good football teams, and I don't care which stadium they play in. It's always a good game to watch because to me, it's like football the old days. You know what I mean? When it was like, let's go in there and we're going to play football. We're going to tackle. We're going to, I love that kind of football. I don't want to see anybody hurt, but it's like they're putting it out on the field. So, all right, real quick before I go on, I want to say hi to Pam and Becky and Regina and um, everybody else, Leslie and Lori Thompson. I don't know if she's still here or not. And Dawn and Ionica, everybody. Thanks so much for um, coming on. Pam wants to know what's on the menu today. Beyond Change, Pam. So you're going to have to go back and listen to the rest of it, my dear. Excuse me. So, okay, where was I? Oh, yeah, living up to other people's expectations doesn't work. You begin to lose who you really are and your sense of your own identity. Um, so hi, Amy and Darlene. So you don't want to do that. Okay, that just makes matters worse. So, um, when I said about not uh, letting go of life, love, and relationships and dreams, therefore I have no fear. and I posted below that was that I never had anything to love or to lose since birth anyway. And so there, and through my life, at one point or another, I didn't have the love and the nurturing that I always expected that I would or should have had, I guess. And a lot of us don't. And I searched for it all of my life and found nothing but pain and separation. And my mistake was trying to give up, sacrificing myself and living up to the expectations for other people. And when they were done with me, they literally just pretty much threw me away, um, in one form or another. Now, I'm not going to put all the blame on all these people, including my family, because there were things that I did in that search of looking for love and everything else, that and wanting the nurturing, like from my mother, kind of thing. That it just, I didn't know any better, but they didn't know any better either. They were going through their own issues, um, and that's why we have to go beyond the change. We have to make the change. We have to be the ones that are the village to take care of the kids and to teach them the difference between right and wrong and how to treat other people and still keep their own identity in playing and being creative and doing what they need to do, and because for me, it took me so long, into my 50s to really know, well, not even my 50s, late 40s, of learning how to fly, you know, and that's first love yourself. And then once you learn how to fly, you fly from the inside. You don't look to other people for that love because it's all inside. I used to hear that all the time. Well, the answer is you seek her inside. Man, a lot of people have a lot of great advice, but they don't want to tell you how to do shit. And that used to piss me off. I'm serious. And I guess that's one of the reasons that I do this show and want to, talk to you guys, is to help explain to you what some of those things are, just through conversation and some of the guests that I have on and things like that. Um, but you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and end it there. There's a couple of other things that I wanted to say, but I think that's a lot to take in. I'd like to ask all of you guys to please share uh, this today, and go and check out both of my pages, John Raven Wolf Bailey. That's my personal page, but then also go and check out my business page, John Raven Wolf Psychic Holistic Healer. If you guys want any kind of guidance at all, you want a reading, or if you need some healing, energy healing, or uh, anything like that, there's different services that I provide. You guys are more than welcome to ask me about it. We can do it, um, online over video. I have a PayPal account. You can do that. And sometimes it can be something as simple as a meditation. Sometimes it can be a past life regression, which takes longer. Sometimes you might just have a few questions to kind of get you going off in a certain direction that you might want to go to. I'm more than happy to help you out with that too. My prices are reasonable, um, and I'm always here for you guys. I want you to know that, because what I bring to the table is not just everything that I've studied and certificates and everything that I've gotten, you know, um, and all the time with my elders and my life experience and everything else. I want to be able to help people to be, to live a good life, really, to come to the point of saying, you know what, I can move past this and enjoy life, enjoy the journey. And sometimes we get tired of hearing that. I get it because I do, you know, because when you're going through something, it's not that simple. You feel like you're the only one going through it. It's hurting like crazy. But I'm here to offer you guidance and sound advice and help. You know, you can get a hold of me any possible way through Facebook, YouTube, either one of those channels. My email is all one word, John Raven Wolf, number one, just the number one, at gmail.com. If you have any questions uh, about anything that I do, please get a hold of me. Amy says that my dad passed when I was very young, and I have got pissed when people wouldn't share knowledge with me. You know, I get it, Amy. I one of the examples that I was talking about, like me not having that love and nurturing thing and things, is like my parents. I was a codependent because my parents were both alcoholics, and my dad was in the service, so I was never even close to family. I could be, 4,000 miles away, and I had nothing or no one to rely on. But when we were around my grandparents, and like if my dad would beat me or something, and my grandfather, who I love very much, and he taught me a lot, spiritually, along with like about cars and stuff like that. I can never understand, why didn't you say anything to my dad? Why didn't you stop him? Why didn't you stick up for me? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. Why didn't you do something? And maybe it's because it wasn't his son, because it was, that was my mom's dad. I don't know. But, you know, in knowing my grandfather and how loving and accepting and everything that he was, I could never get it. I don't know. And that used to piss me off. But I had to let that go. It is what it is, you know. But it was like Christ. I'll give you an example of what one time was, because they were in the backyard. Dad got one of those portable type of blow up pool, not blow up, but the pools or whatever. And we were having a barbecue. And back then they used to have the ketchup bottles were glass, and it was wet from the sweat because it was hot out. And I picked it up, and I was trying to help carry stuff outside to the picnic table, and it slipped out of my arm, fell on the sliding glass door track, and broke. And it was a full bottle, of course. So the ketchup and the glass shattered everywhere, and part of it was on my dad's new carpet, and he flipped out. And he beat the living shit out of me, through the house to my bedroom, threw me in there, slammed the door, and I don't even think I ate that day. I don't even think they gave me supper, because I can remember looking out my bedroom window into the backyard while everybody else was in the pool. I was like, what, 9, 10 years old? And yet my grandfather didn't ask where I was or whatever, yet he drove over, 550 miles to come down and be with us that summer. Yeah, it used to piss me off, but that's what I'm talking about. These are the things that you have to let go. You know, it doesn't even bother me to talk about it anymore. I remember it. And that's another thing, when you know that you're beginning to heal, is that when you can discuss something from a neutral point and it doesn't affect you negatively or positively, that you're like, yeah, well, it was a learning process. You know, here I am, and I'm good with it. You know what I mean? I don't put the blame on my grandfather. I don't. Well, my grandmother was there too, along with my uncle. But, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, what the hell? Obviously I was supposed to learn something from it. So I did, I guess. Like, I'm here, I'm still around. Um, tell you this much, it taught me, and don't think that I was the perfect father by any stretch of the imagination. My son can tell you that. But he and I have a good relationship now. But I think I only spanked him maybe 3 times when he was like a toddler to like 3 or 4 years old. That's it. My daughter, I don't think I even touched. I might have smacked her on the butt one time to get her attention, just one smack when she was wearing a diaper. Um, you know, when she was like learning or after she started walking or something. The rest of the time it was like, okay, time out. And that was strict. And in all honesty, they're two of the greatest young adults that I could ask for. So maybe that's part of the thing that I learned, was like the physical stuff that doesn't make you a better person. Um, and I always tried to talk to them because my dad was just a very reactive, violent, explosive personality. Um, so, like I said, there's always lessons. It taught me how to be a non abusive father, you know. So, uh, it's okay. It is. It's okay. You just have to figure out what you need to let go of. What can you move beyond? How can you go beyond change to make your life better? Yeah, Darlene, I broke the cycle, but there's more cycles that I'm still learning how to break. There's a lot that I have broken. There's still some that I still have to break. We all do. The work's never going to be done in this human existence. We're all continuously working on something. But that's why I'm saying if there's anything that you guys are going through that you might need a little bit of help or direction or advice on, or sometimes you just need somebody to listen. Like I said, you know, my prices are not very expensive at all compared to some. As a psychic reader and as a healer, and I'm very good at what I do, and I love making a difference in people's lives. Um, because I don't want anybody to go through the shit that I did. If I can lessen the pain or disappointment or hurt or depression or anxiety or stress, then I'm happy with that. But I can guarantee you that, the guidance that I give you and the things that I give you, because I give homework. It's like, I don't just talk to you, I give you homework. Like, hey, say, this is what you want to do. Go out and check this out or look this up or, and do this, every day, whatever it may be. Sometimes it's like making a grateful list. Sometimes it's positive affirmations. Sometimes it's how to redirect your thinking from a negative mindset to a positive mindset, which is a difficult thing to do for a lot of people. How do you do that? If you're really caught up in the emotion, negative emotion, and you're sad or in anxiety over something, how do you switch that? How do you get out of that mode and into a different frame of mind and a different perspective? These are the types of things that I can do to help you. And because I do them myself. Sometimes you just have to let it run its course like a cold, in all honesty. Sometimes you just get bummed out and, you just have to allow it to just pass. And then other times you have to do the work. So, you know, it's not hard. It's very simple. It really is. Everything that I teach um, and do to help people is simple. It's not always easy. Yeah, I can't say it's not hard. It's not always easy, but it's very simple in principle. And when you start to remove some of the blockages, then you realize that okay, it's no longer 2 steps forward and 8 steps back. I'm actually making progress here. And that's what we're shooting for, you know? Just think of me as like a spiritual life consultant, if you want to. I hear, like life coach and stuff. No, I'm not your coach. I'm not your guru. I'm not going to stand over here with pom poms and be your cheerleader. I'm just going to be straightforward with you and say this is where you need to look at. And again, how can you move beyond change? We all talk about change. We all see change, but how do we finally move past it? How do we go beyond the change that we want to see? Once again, be the change that you want to see. And stop looking at other people. Look at yourself in the mirror. You know, the old saying, is like when you're pointing at somebody, right? Okay. There's other fingers pointing right back at you. There's more fingers pointing back at you than pointing to the other person. And a lot of times, if something pisses you off or aggravates you or stresses you out about a person, then it's something about your seeing that is alive and well in your own character. So then you have to say, oh shit, that person is annoying because all they do is talk loudly. Like, it's like, do they always have to do that? Do you do that? Do you talk over people? If someone's talking, do you not wait for them to stop to take a break from talking? You just like the thought enters your head, just like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. I used to be like that, and now I can't stand it. When I'm trying to talk or I'm having a thought, I'll hesitate for a moment, and somebody just piles right in, and it's like, all right, whatever. I've gotten a lot better with that too. All right. So anyway, that's Raw Light for tonight. Dare to dream. Thank everybody so much for watching and listening. If you want to get a hold of me, Amy says speaking with no hands. I can look. I don't know if I can do that. I probably could, I guess. Anyway, if you need to get a hold of me for any reason, whether you want to do a past life regression, you want to do an energy healing like a chakra alignment or attunement, or if you need a reading for what's going on in your life as far as future endeavors with relationships or work, anything like that, anything that you might need. And if you're wondering, just give me a quick shout out and message me, and we'll go from there. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Love you. Have a great night, and we'll check you or catch you again on Thursday night on another edition of Raw Light. Much love. Take care.